What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for another day of NFL free agency reaction analysis news. And I'm going to give you my opinion on each and every signing and move from today's free agency action. It is Thursday, March 16th. It is day 4 of NFL free agency. And I am Mitch. Don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have been checking out all the videos I've been putting out with all the big reactions to the bigger moves that have been going on across the NFL. Don't forget to follow my social medias. Twitter is an important one at this time of the year if you want to hear what I'm thinking when I'm not on YouTube. Twitter is the place to go. Links are in the description. Instagram is another. Also TikTok if you want to see some of the clips that you may not find on YouTube. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Let's say hello. What's up to Sing? What's up to Kill 'em Boys? What's up to Caesar? How's it going, Tessa? Tessa says, what's up? Bottom line view community. If you're new or not, my alarm just went off. Gino, spike that like button and smash that red button. And if you don't, no cookies, she says. Remember, go Seahawks. Caesar says, Cowboys, please get a wide receiver. Maybe that could be coming shortly. We will see. Tessa was not very happy about me being a little bit late. Apologize. Nicholas Gill in the chat says Bears to the bowl. What's going on? Yes, March Madness going on. I got it in the background right now. I'm seeing Northwestern and Boise State just finishing up. Nolan is in the chat. What's up, Nolan? Thank you guys for joining. Don't forget to spike the like button and let me know how you're doing and how you're feeling in the chat. Okay, let's roll. So, we got a few things to talk about. I don't think it's been as crazy as the last couple of days. We've got a bunch of moves made by Nick Gill's Bears, so we got to talk about that. Gardner Minshew also signed with a football team. And we have a bunch of other moves also to discuss at wide receiver. We had a couple moves, offensive line. So let's talk about that. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's begin with, always like to have my stats up. Let's begin with Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell to the New York Giants. Okay. Wide receiver Paris Campbell of the Indianapolis Colts is now signing with a new team on a second contract in the NFL. At only 25 years old, Paris Campbell has an opportunity to go to the New York Giants, the G-Men, and become a number 1 wide receiver. Yes, I said it. A number 1 wide receiver with the New York Giants. Now, no disrespect to Isaiah Hodgins. No disrespect to the recently re-signed Darius Slayton. And if you want to include Darren Waller, who is technically a tight end, although plays more wide receiver, to be honest with you. No disrespect to Sterling Shepard. But if you're looking at the New York Giants, the most talented guy on that depth chart is one that they just signed. His name is Paris Campbell. He was one of my favorite underrated additions that could be possible in free agency this offseason because he is somebody that still has a lot of untapped potential at only 25 years old. Why? He has missed a lot of time in the NFL. He has been injured in his NFL career so far. He has played 4 seasons. But technically, really only 1 full year. He played a full season in 2022, catching 63 passes for 623 yards and 3 touchdowns with the Indianapolis Colts, primarily playing in the slot. for the Colts. But Paris Campbell brings speed. He is a dynamic young receiver with speed. He can provide a burner for this offense, vertical or horizontal. And most of his damage has been done at the NFL level and really at college, going back to his Ohio State days. He was known for his horizontal damage. What he was able to do with the ball, yards after catch, once he got it in his hands. A lot of crossing routes, a lot of underneath routes. And he was able to take those and convert those into bigger plays. Last year, he finally had a pretty good year with the Colts because he just was never able to get out of his own way in terms of injuries. In his first 3 years, he played 7 games as a rookie. He played 2 games as a second-year player and only 6 games as a third-year player. Fourth year, he played 17. So, Paris Campbell is a guy, 25 years old, former high second-round pick that you take a chance on a short-term contract for his second deal. This is the type of guy that is an unfinished product, that you place him in a system with Brian Daboll. He may see something that he can elevate his game. He took Isaiah Hodgins, elevated his game. He took Darius Slayton, elevated his game. He took these receivers that maybe a lot of people weren't sold on at the NFL level. Isaiah Hodgins was cut by the Buffalo Bills, and he produced with those guys in that offense. Daniel Jones now has a legit, at least, talent at wide receiver. Not saying he is a number 1, not even saying he's a number 2, but he's a guy that profiles as somebody that could develop into that potentially and adds just another body to that wide receiver room who has some upside. And that's why I like this move, because you're getting a guy coming off a flash of a good season, but can you take him and mold him into a real receiver? And that's what I'm intrigued by. That's what I was intrigued by in free agency. When you really think about the free agents out there and the possible ads out there weren't many that were 25 years old that still had untapped potential. There were guys like Alan Lazard who are kind of finished products, Jacoby Myers who are finished products but productive players. There were Odell Beckham Jr., older superstar receivers coming off injury, unknown, right? Paris Campbell was the one guy that stood out as the swing for the upside. So that's why I like this move. And it's not a super crazy contract. It's about what I thought he would get. So he fits right in to this depth chart. So that is Paris Campbell to the Indianapolis Colts. Now a New York Giant. There you go. I wonder if he'll wear number 1. Does anyone wear number 1 on the Giants? He was wearing number 1 on the Colts before, so I wonder if he'll be on the Giants. You know what, man? My streaming software is showing me the 0 views thing again. I don't know why it does that. That must be a glitch or something. I don't understand. So weird. But what's up, Jennifer? What's up, Kobe? How you guys doing? Nice to see you, Kobe. Foot says, how do you feel about the Patriots' chances of getting Jerry Jeudy and Mike Gesicki? I don't know if Jerry Jeudy's going to happen. The reports are so conflicting. I don't really see that happening. Mike Gesicki sounds more likely just based on the actual fact that he followed the New England Patriots on Twitter. I mean, do you do that if you don't get signed by the New England Patriots? And do you also have Mac Jones following him at the same time? On top of that, Mike Gesicki played college ball for Bill O'Brien at Penn State. So those things seem to connect. And also that Jonnu Smith was traded. So those themes seem to connect there. I could see Mike Gesicki joining the team sometime soon on a 1 or 2 year deal. But in terms of Jerry Jeudy, I don't know how likely that is. I feel like Jerry Jeudy, Odell, D-Hop, they're all in the same, even Brandon Cooks, they're all in that same like barrel of Who knows? It's probably unlikely that any of them come, never mind one of them. It's just like, we're hoping that they get one of them, but I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Okay, who's next? Let's discuss Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios of the now Miami Dolphins. Okay, let's actually check up his stats, though. How's everybody doing today? Quiet. I hope YouTube sent out some notifications. They probably didn't, but... Jennifer says, hello, Mitch. I found out through my ancestry that my great-grandmother was from Prince Edward Island. Ooh, weird. Nice, though. Cool. Okay, let's talk about Berrios. What's up, Aaron? The Miami Dolphins have signed Braxton Berrios, a former member of the U. Braxton Berrios was a Miami Dolphin fan growing up, and now he will join the team that is coached by not only Mike McDaniel, but to a larger point, the wide receivers coach is Wes Welker. Just throwing that out there. Because Tyreek Hill tweeted, the next Wes Welker, or Wes Welker 2.0. Braxton Berrios is a Miami Dolphin on a 1-year contract. He is a former All-Pro returner, a great punt returner, a good kick returner. He is a guy that will electrify your special teams and provide a spark on that phase, returning the football. Braxton Berrios is also a good depth wide receiver to the Miami Dolphins. I'd expect him to stick around as that fourth target in the offense at wide receiver. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Cedric Wilson, and Braxton Berrios. And I would even say that Cedric Wilson was not a huge contributor to that offense last year. So I could even see Braxton Berrios competing for the slot role with some tutelage from Wes Welker. But last year, Braxton wasn't very involved with the Jets given their depth at wide receiver and all the young players they wanted to have surpass him on the depth chart. 18 receptions on 32 targets last year, 145 yards. No touchdowns. But the year before, he had 46 catches on 65 targets, 431 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which was a career high in both catches and yards. In his second year with the Jets in 2020, he had 37 catches for 394 yards and 3 touchdowns. So far, nothing too special, nothing too crazy. But he is now going to be 28 years old, and he's going to have an opportunity to play on a new team that maybe has more of a niche role for him, that quick slot receiver. And he's a different body and a different type of player than Cedric Wilson, who's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, not as shifty horizontally from sideline to sideline in terms of getting in and out of cuts, but not as vertical in terms of the ability to get down the field. So Braxton Berrios is going to contribute in the kicking game. Checking his returning stats real quick. Last year, he had 2 touchdowns. Or no, not 2 touchdowns, sorry. He had 21 returns for 240 yards. That's 11.4 yards per return. And in terms of kick returns, he had 26 returns for 600 yards. That's 23.1 yards per return. 2021 was his all-pro season where he was special as a kick returner. He had 28 returns for 852 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 30.4 yards per return, which led the NFL in that category. He also had 15 returns for 201 yards in the punt returning department, and he's been returning kicks ever since he got to the New York Jets. He originally was drafted by my Patriots out of the 7th round as a slot receiver coming from Miami. who they thought may be able to develop into one in New England, but they decided to go with Gunnar Olszewski over him early in that career because Braxton couldn't stay healthy, but I think he's developed into the better player. So Braxton Berrios, 1-year deal with the Miami Dolphins to contribute as a depth receiver and a very good returner in the NFL. What's going on, Monty? What's going on? UB tripping. He says, too bad the Pats couldn't get Berrios. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They did. They had him at one point. Jennifer has a lot of Canadian relatives. Yeah? Wow. That's good, eh? Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Graham says, bruh, he went to the Dolphins. Didn't I say that? Did I misspeak? Did I say something else? Okay, what do we want to talk about next? I talked about Campbell already. Let's talk about Foreman, but that's like a big list. I'm going to go over the Bears collectively, so we're going to get there. Let's talk about, did the Lions only sign one person today, or did they sign multiple? I think... So they signed Glasgow. Did they sign another guy? I think that's it, right? Glasgow. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about him. Just gonna pull up his stuff. Monty, what do you think of the Patriots rumors? You guys watching March Madness? Did PFF update this yet? Doesn't look like it. Huh. Did he play center last year? Yeah, he did, didn't he? I think he played center last year. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. All right. Check the contract. The Detroit Lions. Welcome back, Glasgow. He is a center guard who will provide some depth and versatility to the Detroit Lions line. One of the best offensive lines in football. Glasgow is back, man. And he's been a solid player for the Denver Broncos since he has left. I know that a lot of Lions fans already know him and are familiar and know him well. And I'm pretty sure that they like him. But Glasgow is about 31 years old now. He left Detroit. He played in Denver for 3 seasons. He was a starter primarily for Denver, but then injuries caught up to him. He didn't play full seasons in 2020 or 2021. That caused him to become more of a backup, more of that third guy on the interior. So typically, good offensive lines, in my opinion, have a good trio on the interior offensive line. And that is what you want, because you want one guy who's a center or a guard. A guy that can play guard in a pinch, left or right. A guy that can play center in a pinch, left or right. Not left or right, just center. Because it's literally the center of left and right. But Glasgow, $4.5 million. And he did play 17 games last year. He started 13 of them. So last season, he didn't go into the year as Denver's starter at guard. So what it ended up happening is that he became the center when they had to shift around the interior offensive line. Last season, he actually graded better than Lloyd Cushenberry, who is the projected center of Denver and I believe was the part-time center of Denver last year. Glasgow was 27th in the NFL, at the center position. Not fantastic, but not terrible. He was about average. He played 929 snaps, though, last year. And throughout his time in Denver, he graded as the 47th best guard in football in 2021, the 20th best guard in football in 2020, and really his peak was 2017 through 2019, which he spent with the Detroit Lions as a good guard in the NFL, 22nd, 15th, 13th from 2017 through 2019. So Graham Glasgow is a solid, high-end, priority depth interior offensive lineman. That is what he is at this stage of his career, because I don't know if you can rely on him to be a starter every game because of his injury history, but he replaces Evan Brown, who left. He is younger, left for a good contract with Seattle, okay, to become their center. And I think this was a great addition to Detroit, a guy that's familiar with the city, and I'm sure he'll have no issues adjusting to that locker room under Dan Campbell. I like this addition for Detroit, just keeping their depth on the offensive line intact, which is clearly important to them. Much of this front office comes from New Orleans, so it makes sense that they want to keep their strength, their depth, their deep offensive line. So Graham Glasgow is back as a Detroit Lion. There you guys go. Next up, let's talk about the Evan Brown signing, because it only makes sense, right? Graham Glasgow in, Evan Brown out. Now, do they list Evan Brown as a Seahawk yet on PFF? Let's take a look. They don't on center, and it's because I think he played guard last year. What's up, Nick? How you doing? You watching Madness? Monty says Pat's busy today, but also not. Had a few visits, but no real deals. Mac Wilson re-signed, which is about it. What do you think of Mac Wilson? I honestly feel like he should be playing more for them. What's up? You wish, bro. Go check out the video. I released it. I released a video. I did the reaction yesterday, and I released the entire video of the reaction on the channel. Baker to the Bucks. So go check that out, man, if you want to hear about that. Okay. Where was I? Evan Brown. Did anyone see the contract? 33rd. Let's check out the offensive line for Tessa's Seahawks. Okay. The Seattle Seahawks have a new center. His name is Evan Brown. Evan Brown has played guard. He has played center. He has started at both positions for the Detroit Lions over the past couple of years. One of the best offensive lines, regarded as one of the top offensive lines in football. Evan Brown is going to protect Geno Smith. And he's, in my opinion, an upgrade over what they had previously at the center position, which was one of their weaker positions that definitely needed an upgrade on the interior of their offensive line. Evan Brown graded as the 33rd best guard in the NFL last year. A much better run blocker, according to his grade, 69.5, in comparison to a weak pass blocking grade of 45.5. A lot like Graham Glasgow, who I just discussed, going from Denver back to Detroit, who replaces Evan Brown, funny enough. This guy has been a priority backup, a high-end backup, a guy that can play center, a guy that can play left guard, a guy that can play right guard in a pinch. And now he's going to get an opportunity to start, most likely, for Seattle, unless they draft somebody, which they very well could in the first couple of rounds. But I would say if Seattle does not draft somebody in the first 2 rounds at center, he will be the starter. And at the very least, you're getting a good backup in Evan Brown. So he is going to be 27, 3 years younger than Graham Glasgow. He started 12 games in 2021, 2022. there is reason to believe that this is a guy that's ascending as somebody that did not start until 2021 and has had his best football as of late. So he played 83% of the snaps last year, 768, 73% of the snaps, 755 with Detroit at 25 and 26 years old. Based on his production the last couple of years, where he was graded as the 17th best center last year for Detroit, taking over for Frank Ragnow when he went down, showed promise at that position, was, just as good at guard the year after. So has to develop more as a pass blocker, but definitely the type of run blocker that Seattle really loves at the center position. So Evan Brown to Seattle, a nice signing. I think this is a very underrated addition that is going to upgrade the line of the Seattle Seahawks. I think one of their main priorities this offseason, outside of just upgrading the defense, has been upgrading the offensive line, and Evan Brown can do that for them. So Seattle gets Evan Brown. Next up, let's talk about, who do we want to talk about? Another offensive lineman, just keep the theme going here. Monty says he's expecting the Patriots to do a lot in the next 1 to 2 days. What's up, everybody? Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button. Off-Road says, go Chiefs. Tennessee is beating Louisiana right now, 19-13. First half. Okay, Bengals. Oh, Bengals signed 2 people. So I've got to make sure that I have that on the right. Bengals are going to work right now. They're going to work. They lost a couple people, but they're going to work. What is going on here? Okay. So we got that down. Tristan Hill, do I want to talk about him? There weren't too many high-profile signings, but we're going to get to all of them eventually, guys, so don't you worry. And make sure those questions are coming eventually. I'll get to them. Okay. The Cleveland Browns are continuing to add depth to their interior defensive line. Clearly a point of emphasis for the Browns this offseason, signing Dalvin Tomlinson, moving on from Taven Bryan. Tristan Hill, a former second-round pick for the Dallas Cowboys. He also spent time with the Arizona Cardinals. Is a depth addition with some upside for the Cleveland Browns. Last year, he played 7 games for Dallas. He played 6 for Arizona, so he split time with both. He has not accomplished a lot in the NFL, okay? The most sacks he's put up in a year is 1. His career is 1.5 sacks. There's not much to go off of on his career. But basically, Tristan Hill is a player that will contribute to the depth of the Cleveland Browns. And I wanted to throw this in here because it's along the lines of their theme this offseason. And I'm somebody that I look for these things. I look for what is a front office trying to do to improve the roster, and specifically where are they trying to apply signings to their depth. And this is just an example of taking a chance on a former high draft pick from a team in Dallas who had a very good defensive line, right? And Dallas, really, there was no spot for him any longer. He moves on to Arizona. Perhaps Cleveland saw some film with Arizona that they liked, and there could be enough there for him to get an opportunity with Cleveland. So that is what's going through my mind here. Not the production, not the history, just a guy that was a decently high draft pick that will get an opportunity to play in a position that Cleveland is heavily focused on in free agency. So Tristan Hill to the Cleveland Browns. Next up, we got more offensive linemen. Singh says, have you done Cody Ford yet? No, I'm going to get there with the Bengals. I'm going to get there. I want to do... I forgot to do Dan Feeney with Braxton Berrios. So I got to remember... I'm going to add on Dan Feeney here. I've noticed a theme today. I just noticed it, but a lot of depth linemen today. Like priority backup linemen. That's been a theme. What's up, Coop Dog? How you doing, man? Okay. All right. On top of Braxton Berrios, the Miami Dolphins are upgrading their depth on the offensive line, which is never a bad idea when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, who have struggled with the offensive line for a while. Last year, it did improve, but it's never a bad idea to add some veteran depth, guys who can definitely step in and play at center or guard, and that is Dan Feeney. We've seen a couple guys today signed on the interior offensive line as high-end backup players and for priority third guard center rotation type guys. We've seen Graham Glasgow go back to Detroit. We've seen Evan Brown signed by Seattle, who actually may end up being a starter. We've seen Cody Ford get signed. We've seen quite a few of these signings today of these high-end backup types, and that's exactly what Dan Feeney is. Dan Feeney played a little bit last year, but not as much last year. He's played a lot of games, though, in the NFL with the Chargers and the Jets, so the Dolphins are familiar with him playing for the Jets for quite some time. But when you look at him, he's played 96 games in the NFL. He started 96 games in the NFL. This is only a one-year contract. And when you're a team like the Dolphins, who are hoping to compete, a team that hoping to be relevant in the playoffs, you're going to go through some bumps and bruises. You're going to have to maintain a certain level of play on the offensive line. And Dan Feeney started 2 games last year, 5 the year before that, and he was a regular starter for the Chargers from 2018 through 2020, playing 16 games in every season. So he grades, about what you would think. In 2020, 35th out of 36th center, 67th out of 83rd in 2019 for guard, 70th, and then in his rookie year, 44th. So, he's just a depth lineman who's got a lot of experience on the offensive line, specifically on the interior, guard and center, and he'll step in there if, let's say, a Connor Williams goes down, or one of your Hunt goes down, one of your interior linemen goes down, and he can get in there, and he's got experience doing so, especially, with a similar type of blocking scheme. So Dan Feeney goes to the Dolphins. Okay. Another offensive lineman out of the way. What else we got to discuss here? Miles Jack got cut. That's a little bit surprising, and they replaced him with a familiar friend. A familiar friend. Did I put that contract in here somewhere? I did not. I'm an idiot. Okay, hold on. What's up, You Wish? He says, I like your take on Baker, Mitch. It is possible that he can be serviceable or deadbeat. The only thing I would have added is that he won a playoff game, but that's about it. Oh, also, it's Dan I still don't get it. Canalis? I don't know, bro. I'm trying my best. The Bucs picked up Chase Edmonds. You want me to talk about that for you? I talked about Paris Campbell. I'm going to do some more. I got the Bears to talk about. They made 4 moves today. I'm talking about Gardner Minshew. I'm going to talk about the Bengals. They made a couple moves today. The Jets, another depth lineman signing. I'm just getting through all these right now. Then the Landon Roberts I want to talk about next. Let's do Chase Edmonds for my boy You Wish, just because he asked nicely. Let's do Chase Edmonds right now. All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed a running back to complement Rachaad White in the backfield. Maybe even a running back that they thought they might get, a style of back they thought they might get with Giovanni Bernard. It's Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds signs a 1-year, about $1 million cheap contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chase Edmonds, in his career, I was actually a fan of Chase Edmonds. Like, I liked Chase Edmonds quite a bit as a young running back in this league. From 2018 through 2021, he played with the Arizona Cardinals. And in 2020 and 2021, he caught a combined 96 catches in 2 seasons. 53 one year, 43 the next. For over 700 combined yards and 4 touchdowns. So this is a guy that can catch the ball. He has been a weapon out of the backfield in his past. And he can run routes out of the backfield. You can split him out and he can be a receiver. And he's still only 26 years old. And from what I understand, he hasn't had any major injuries. Now the thing with Chase Edmonds is the wear and tear might add up to him a little bit earlier in his career because he is so small. He's 5'9". He's only 210. He's not bulky 5'9" either. He's kind of slim. But Chase Edmonds has been a really good receiver. And that's why I think the Bucs signed him. Because on third down, on passing downs, he can pass block, he can run routes, you can do different things with him. As a rusher, he hasn't been super great. He's had moments, he's had flashes. In 2019, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry. He ran for 4 touchdowns and 303 yards. In 2020, he ran for 448 yards and 1 touchdown on 4.6 yards per carry. And in 2021, he rushed for 592 yards, the most of his career, with over 116 carries and 2 touchdowns on 5.1 yards per carry. So again, he was ascending. He was an ascending player from 2018 through 2021. All he did was get better. He just got better and better and better and better, and his role got larger and larger and larger and larger when the Arizona Cardinals kind of went from David Johnson, and then they went through that whole James Conner, Chase Edmonds combination. And then what happened last year is Chase Edmonds signed with the Broncos, and he just became a depth guy. Like, he just got buried on the depth chart. Denver had Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, and Chase Edmonds never saw the field. And then Denver cut him. He went to Miami, I believe. Or it was the opposite, wasn't it? He went to Miami and then he went to Denver, I think. So he went to Miami. It didn't work out in Miami. He didn't truly fit Mike McDaniel's scheme. He brought in Raheem Mostert, who outperformed him, outshined him as a runner. He had familiarity with the 49er way, the 49er scheme, the zone scheme of Mike McDaniel. So Raheem Mostert was there. And then the Dolphins traded for Jeff Wilson. And then Chase Edmonds went to Denver. And he just never really, Latavius Murray was more productive. So Chase Edmonds just never really had a fit like he did in Arizona. Because Edmonds is a niche player to me. He's a nice complementary back. He's got some explosion to him, but he's small and he's a pass catcher. So I think there's still something with him because when you see his production in Arizona, it's clear that it was more of a fit that didn't work out on his last season in 2022. And he's still only 26. So it makes me believe that the Bucs may have a steal on their hands with Chase Edmonds here for a year as a number 2 or number 3 running back in Tampa Bay. So I like the move. What's going on, Harley Quinn? How you doing? What's going on, EJ? He says, at this point, I don't even think Tampa's trying to get better. I mean, it's hard to get better. I don't think they're trying to get better necessarily. I think they're trying to stay competitive. Penn State playing Texas A&M right now. Game just started. 2-2. Harley, how you doing? How you doing, girl? What's up? What do we got next? 3-hour nap? That's not a nap. That's a good night's sleep. The Jets have signed, okay, a guard, so I'll talk about that too. Bro, I said I already did Paris Campbell. Did they sign somebody else today that I missed? Wes. I like the Paris Campbell signing, man. I went on a soliloquy about it for like 5 minutes. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. I've never known how. Wes Schweitzer. Schweitzer. Caesar, help me out. You're good with these things. No problem, man. I'm just letting you know. I said it already, so that's why I kind of yelled it the second time. Okay, Wes Schweitzer, I want to say it is. Okay. Let's talk about him. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Bears. That's kind of like the main event. Okay. The New York Jets are signing some depth for Aaron Rodgers' offensive line. Wes Schweitzer, former Atlanta Falcon and Washington Commander. I believe he was a Commander. He might have also been a no-name. He might have also been a football team member. But nonetheless, Washington and Atlanta. And Wes is one of these long line of guys who is a good backup, not a great starter. But he's one where I would say he's had more recent production than somebody like Dan Feeney or even Graham Glasgow. I think he's played better than him as of late. There's been a bunch of these guys signed today that are like center guards. They can play both positions. Schweitzer in his career played 16 games as a rookie, starting at right guard. That was 2017. Then he started 13 at left guard, and he played left guard for Atlanta in 2018, 2019 as a starter. Then he went to Washington. He started at left guard in 2020, the year that Washington went to the playoffs. Then 2021, he became a priority third interior offensive lineman. And then he kind of became a center more so with Washington. So he's had a different role across his NFL career with Atlanta and Washington. So he has started 60 games in his NFL career. He is just going to be 30 now, I believe. He is 29 currently, but he's going to become 30. And in 2021, PFF, believe it or not, graded him as the 9th best guard in the NFL last year. And that was on limited action as he only played 5 starts. But on those 5 starts, he graded very well. In 2020, he played more. He graded as the 18th best guard in the NFL. And he's had some ups and downs, but mostly he's played well. The only seasons where he hasn't played well, 2019, he graded a little bit below average, 59th out of 83rd, but that 83, that's not bad though. And then 2022, he played 27th out of 36 centers. So 2022 was the first year he played mostly center. Every other year, he played mostly guard in the NFL for Atlanta and Washington. And then he also played some center this year for Washington. He had to step in there. So He has that versatility. He has plenty of experience, 60 games started. He's actually had some high-end production with Washington primarily, but also a little bit with Atlanta. And he's been fairly steady as well. So a decent signing here. And as you can see, he's had basically his lineage in his career. Started with Atlanta, who was kind of still running that Shanahan scheme when he got there. And then he went to Washington, where they had the Turners, right? So still kind of that West Coast. Hackett will now be the OC for the Jets. So it makes sense. It's not a difficult out-of-scheme fit here. It's an easy transition for the vet. So I like the signing because the Jets have had a ton of issues protecting their quarterback, and they've had a ton of issues with injuries in particular on the offensive line, mostly because their turf sucks. So Schweitzer makes sense at center or guard. Probably going to see some time in 2023. Okay. That one is down. I need to get my Landon Roberts. You Wish gave me a super chat. My man. He says, that was hella awesome. Thanks for the take, Mitch. Thank you, You Wish. You're the man, bro. Best Bucks fan out there. Don't tell anybody else. Miss Harley says, Baker to the Bucks. I didn't expect that. I'm not a fan. Ethan says, Bears made a couple of solid signings today in Tanyan and Foreman. Yeah, I'm going to get to them. Schweitzer. Caesar. I was correct. Wow. Ethan says, I like the moves made by the Bears, but it's just they aren't that big of areas of need. You would figure D-line and O-line could be, or even corner. That is a good point. I talked about that in the first Bears breakdown. I'm going to talk about that a little bit moving forward. How do I... QE? QT? Who are you? I have a feeling Greedy Williams is going to be the third corner, and they're moving Avonte Maddox to safety. Ooh. That's an interesting take. Did I put down Greedy Williams on my sheet here? I'm going to make sure that I do. He's an interesting guy, though. Okay. We'll talk about Greedy right now for you. Talk about the Eagles. I just want to get this Landon Roberts thing. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button, guys. We are live on the Bottom Line View for, I don't know, the fourth or fifth day in a row. I don't see any money for Landon Roberts here. My boy. Okay. Let's talk about Greedy. I'm just going to pull up his stats. I know he's been hurt most of his career, but I liked him coming out of college. Man, that was a guy that I really thought was going to be super awesome in the NFL. Maybe he still has a chance. I don't see him on here. PFF. Let's see. (9-8) Texas A&M. He didn't play much last year at all. He only played 100 snaps. Interesting. Okay. All right. The Philadelphia Eagles are taking a shot on a short-term but potential big gain with Greedy Williams, who is a former second-round pick by the Cleveland Browns at the cornerback position. I don't know what went wrong for Greedy Williams in Cleveland. I was a huge fan of him coming out in the draft when he was drafted back in 2019. And he did start some games. He started 21 games, in his career for Cleveland, but 20 in his first 2 seasons. And it wasn't like he was bad for the Cleveland Browns. Now, he had some issues with injury, and maybe he lost his role in Cleveland. Browns fans, let me know in the comments. It feels like he kind of just lost his spot. The Browns moved, of course, they had Denzel Ward. They spent a high priority first round pick on another cornerback. They also had another kid they liked, Emerson. They had Troy Hill in there, who they spent a lot of money on. So they had greater investments, you would say, at the cornerback position. And because of that, Greedy Williams fell behind. And he fell on the depth chart. He fell down the depth chart. But when you look at Greedy Williams in 2019 and 2021, in his advanced statistics, he allowed a 84.9 passer rating in 2019 as a rookie. That's pretty good. I would say anything as a corner below 100 is serviceable. Anything below 90 is quality. 74 passer rating in his second year, so he was ascending. He also had 2 interceptions, right? And that was a year where he played 8 starts, but played all 16 games. So there is some upside still that's untapped with Greedy Williams. Because I actually remember going back and preparing for the Cleveland Browns this year. And he didn't play a lot this year. He only started 1 game. He played in 11 games, but he only had 11 tackles. He was mostly a depth player. He was a 4th or 5th corner. He was a special teamer. He didn't really get to play that much this year. And it's kind of confusing why. Right? So 2020 he didn't play. 2019 he did. Has a pretty good rookie year. 2021 he has his best year of his career, forcing a fumble, 10 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 41 tackles. Pretty good stuff overall. Checking his PFF grade in 2021. It was a 68.8, which is a good grade. Okay. Now, he's never been known for his tackling. He's pretty poor in terms of his tackling ability. But you know what's funny about him is he actually looks a lot like a Darius Slay. If you just looked at him from a profile standpoint, he's about 6'2", 185. He's kind of got lanky arms. He's pretty tall. He doesn't have a lot of beef on him, which is probably why he's not a great tackler. He's not super physical. But he does kind of look like a Darius Slay. So maybe Darius Slay could coach him up a little bit because he is back. James Bradberry is also there. But Greedy Williams, I would expect to be the 4th corner on the Eagles with some upside to become more. Because like I've said, when he has played, he's played pretty well. But for whatever reason, due to injuries and other factors, he got buried in Cleveland. So perhaps in Philadelphia, he'll have more opportunity to shine. But he's somebody I did like coming out of college as a 2nd round pick. All right, Greedy Williams to the Eagles. Let me know how you guys are doing. What's up, Edward? How you doing? Bill's lucked out on McGovern. That's a good lineman. What? Nice. Justin, how you doing, bro? He says, hey, man, how are you? Miss Harley, Poyer re-signed with the Bills. Justin says, so what do y'all think, Stroud or Young? I thought it was Stroud, but then all of a sudden Adam Schefter comes out and says it's Young. So what am I supposed to believe? I don't know. It's Trey Lance, Mac Jones all over again, bro. Let's check Twitter and see if anyone else has signed. I haven't gotten any notifications, so I don't believe. Okay. Let's talk about my guy, Landon Roberts. Former Patriot, Landon Roberts. Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers have made a move at linebacker. It is clear that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going a different direction with the linebacker position. No longer do they want these athletic guys that maybe are not the greatest at tackling. Now, they want some hitters. Because a Landon Roberts is coming to town. And a Landon Roberts is an old school linebacker. A Landon Roberts stands at 6'1", 238. But when he hits you, it hurts. A Landon Roberts is a former New England Patriot, a former Super Bowl champion. Make it 2 times. Okay? From 2016 through 2019, he spent his time with the Patriots. He left New England to become a every down player almost in Miami, where he started 11 games in 2020, 15 games in 2021, and 17 out of 17 in 2022. A career season in 2022 with 4.5 sacks, 107 tackles, 6 quarterback hits. Landon Roberts can pack a punch. That's what I know. Steelers fans will like him because he's really good in the running game. He's really good in the running game. He's great at smashing guards and centers in their face. He's also great at just making big hits and coming through the gap and smashing a running back. Now, I always felt like he was limited as a coverage player, and I still believe he is. But he has been ascending as a blitzer with his 4.5 sacks last year. And I think the Steelers could utilize him in that regard as well. Now, it's probably not going to be as aggressively as the Miami Dolphins last year, who kind of just loved to blitz. But Landon Roberts, I would say you don't want him to be a 3-down player if you can help it. But he can fulfill it. Like I said, he played for Miami, started every game, played most of the snaps. You don't want him to be an every down player if you can help it. If you can have other athletic guys playing on down and distances where you know the other team's going to pass, or you know their tendencies, then you want those guys on the field. But I will say that he's been more capable lately of doing that, just kind of getting smarter in the league. You know, having more experience in the league, that sort of stuff. But he's going to be a middle linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to help their run defense. He's going to be a great tackler. He's going to be a great leader. And I've already seen Steelers fans love his tape just because of how ferocious, how physical, and how vicious the guy is as a player. Landon Roberts graded as the 63rd linebacker in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus last season. He graded as the 44th linebacker in 2021. His best season was 2018 with the Patriots, grading as the 31st linebacker. He played 711 snaps in the box last year. He also can play on special teams, as he did a lot in New England. So there's also that. He was drafted in the 6th round in 2016, so he started as a special teamer, kind of developed into a niche run defender in New England, and then became an every down player in Miami. But Pittsburgh's going to like him. Pittsburgh's fans are going to like him. He also had an 89.2 pass rushing grade, which was the best in the NFL, believe it or not. So Steelers fans, you've got a blitzer, you've got a big hitter, and you've got a guy that's going to take on centers and guards without a fear. So no more Devin Bush, no more Miles Jack. Landon Roberts, Cole Holcomb, it's their time to shine. All right. Roberts is done. Now we got the Bengals, we got Minshew, we got the Bears. Big Al says, what's up, y'all? Gronk spiked the like button and the notification bell. He says, subscribe to the BLV for more NFL content just like this. Become a member and join the damn Discord. Penn State up by 1. Odell just released a new video. I wonder what this is about. Showing himself running more routes. Okay. What's up, Darian? Is it Darian? Apologize if that's not how you pronounce it, but Darian. Let's talk about Gardner Minshew going to the Colts, and then we'll talk about the Bengals and the Bears. Yeah, Big Al likes that signing. Big Al, certified, baby. That's what it's all about. The certification. I'm trying to find Gardner Minshew on PFF. Hold on, guys. Why can't I find him? Okay. Let's look up Minshew stats, and then we'll... So it was a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. He is 26. He's only 26? Feels like he's been in the league for like 5 years, bro. Okay. The Indianapolis Colts are bringing Shane Steichen's backup quarterback to town. And Gardner Minshew may have an opportunity to become a starter with the Indianapolis Colts in the same division that he was drafted to. Gardner Minshew was drafted to Jacksonville as a late round pick. Jacksonville never really gave him the opportunity to shine. He left, he went to Philadelphia, and he's been a great backup for the Eagles the last couple of years behind Jalen Hurts. Now he's going to shift into more of an offense that's going to be built for him, right? Since Jalen Hurts has become the starter of the Eagles, it's been really difficult for Gardner Minshew to step in there and provide the same quality because they're such different players. Gardner Minshew is mostly a backup pocket passer. He's not a runner. He's not a mobile quarterback. He can scramble. He's a very savvy scrambler. He can make some plays on the move, but he's not a designed runner. He's not an extra six-back offense type of guy. He's a pocket guy. He's a little bit smaller in stature at 6'1", 225. That's one of the knocks on him. But we've seen shorter guys get opportunities, and we've seen smaller guys have success. Kyler Murray's smaller. Bryce Young is going to be smaller. Russell Wilson is certainly smaller, but Gardner Minshew is definitely smaller. Now, Gardner Minshew, in terms of negatives, if I was going to look at it, because I'm biased, I like Gardner Minshew. I've always liked Gardner Minshew. I thought he was the best backup in the NFL entering 2022. Now, I don't think he performed that way this year. I think you would say Jacoby Brissett performed that way. I think he outperformed Gardner Minshew, but we've seen him have a lot of success in the NFL. In terms of negatives, Minshew doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not going to be able to rip the ball into tight windows like elite quarterbacks in this league. And I wouldn't say his deep ball is bad, but it's not his strongest asset. On top of that, he's just not the greatest athlete, right? He's not super fast. He doesn't have that super strong arm. He's not big, right? So he's a less than athlete. But outside of that, Gardner Minshew, I love his style of play. When you look at his career, he protects the football with only 15 interceptions in 32 games. And his touchdown-interception ratio is extremely impressive for a guy that's never really been a starter. He's only had the opportunity to start 24 games. He's played in 32 games. He's only had the opportunity to really start for 2 years. And that was in Jacksonville 2019-2020 with the worst rosters in the NFL. Minshew went 6-6 in 2019. And then he went 1-7 with the worst team in the NFL. And once he left, the reason they actually benched Minshew, believe it or not, in 2020 is because he was too good and they wanted to get the first pick. That's really what happened. I don't know if people remember that. But they said, Minshew, you're not doing us any favors. We're going to put this other bum in there. He was too good, So they sat him. So in those years, he had 21 touchdowns to 6 picks with 3,271 yards and a 60% completion percentage with a 91 passer rating as a rookie. As a rookie in 2019, he went 6-6. Then in year 2, he was 1-7, but he had 16 touchdowns to 5 picks. So how much of it was his fault? He also had 2,259 yards, 95.9 passer rating. So numbers-wise, he was good and efficient on a very terrible team. In Philadelphia, on a much better team, he's shown promise, but he last year had some down moments. So in 2021, he was 1-1 as a starter, a team that was a fringe playoff team. He won one of the games. He was very impressive in, I think, the game against the Jets. Had a 68% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick, 439 yards, and a 104.8 passer rating. Then last year, he was 0 for 2, but he did play the Dallas Cowboys, and he played really well against Dallas. And then he had a bad game against the Saints, one of the best defenses in football, and they lost that game. And the Saints, for whatever reason, shut down pocket passers, but they're not good against mobile quarterbacks. We've seen that over the last couple of years, but he was 0 for 2, only a 58% completion percentage, 663 yards, but 3-3 touchdown interception. And he played 2 of the best defenses in football, had an 83.4 passer rating. So taking over for Jalen Hurts, last year was perhaps his worst showing, but it was against 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, 2 of the best pass rushes in the NFL. And like I said, the offense didn't really fit him because the Eagles have shifted so far into being a run-heavy team that their passing game is very kind of simplistic due to how much their running game sets up their passing game. So it's not doing any favors to a pocket passer like Gardner Minshew. So they had to shift their entire offense, really. But he was really good in the Dallas Cowboys game. If you look back to that game, and I'll go through the statistics right here in terms of the game log. In the Cowboys game, he had 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And he also had a rushing touchdown. So he had 3 total touchdowns to 2 picks. So Minshew's a high-end backup and a guy that's never really gotten a lot of opportunities to be a starter. I think he's never really gotten a true chance on a decent team to be a starter. So he might get that for the Colts to begin this season. And I'd be happy for him because why? Not only has he been an undervalued football player, if you compare Gardner Minshew's, they were drafted, I believe, in the same year. Gardner, or maybe Minshew was drafted a year after. But a lot of people, because of how they look, Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew, compare the two. Yes, Mayfield was drafted the year before. If you compare their career numbers, Minshew has a better passer rating. Minshew has a better touchdown to interception ratio. So, which one is the better player? Gardner Minshew is also a great personality. Players love this guy. If you ever watched him play, him and his dad have this great connection. And he's the guy rocks the mustache and the jorts. I mean, how can you get better than that? How can you have more swag than that? So, I think you gotta love Gardner Minshew. He's an easy guy to cheer for. He's an underdog story. And at the very least, he keeps the Colts competitive in the AFC South. And at the max, he could prove a lot of people wrong that, hey, maybe they should have taken a chance on him sooner. And he's also extremely cheap. $3.5 million. That is a great deal for the Colts. A guy that knows the offense already, has proven he can play a bit, and he's a great fit in the locker room. So Gardner Minshew to the Colts. There it is. All right. Harley says she's going to Disney World next week. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. Penn State is up 21-15 against Texas A&M. Justin says Steichen will start Minshew. Jordan says he hopes the stash brings some swag to the Colts. Yeah, it's hard to bring swag to the Indianapolis Colts, a team that once waved a banner of them going to the AFC Championship game. Just checking. Justin says they will draft Richardson. They very well could, and I think they might. Okay, let's talk about the Bengals, and then we'll talk about the Bears. The Bears. The Bears. The Bengals. Bengals, Bengals, Bengals. Okay. The Cincinnati Bengals are once again adding to the offensive line. Don't expect him to be a starter, Cody Ford, of the Buffalo Bills, but expect him to be a depth guard and tackle hybrid. He was drafted in the second round, 38th overall, not that long ago, 2019, to play right tackle. He was then shifted to right guard and was never a fit for the Buffalo Bills. Never really played well, to be honest. But could a different scheme change that? Because Buffalo is a team that asks for a lot of movement from their offensive linemen. Cincinnati, as we see with Orlando Brown, wants some big beefy men up front. Cody Ford might be able to provide that at 6'3", 329 pounds. He could play tackle. He could play guard. Obviously having that experience. And he has started a lot of games. Playing for Arizona, playing for Buffalo. Both systems. More zone blocking than man-power scheme. He's started 32 games in his NFL career, played in 49. Last year, he played 46% of the snaps for the Arizona Cardinals. The year he played the most was 2020, 83% of the snaps. So, he is a depth lineman for Cincinnati who continues to pursue depth to protect Joe Burrow. And it's a great investment. I'm not saying this guy's going to really help or shine, but if you need him to step in, he has been a starter in this league, and he can play multiple positions. You always love to see that. So he's a guy that I don't even think will compete for a starting job, honestly. But you got Jackson Carman there. You got Cody Ford now. You got Collins or Williams, depending on what they do. You've got Volson. A bunch of guys that can be rather in a rotation or as depth. So I love the addition, the swing at taking a chance on a former high draft pick as a backup. The other move that the Cincinnati Bengals made was for a safety. Of course, we know that they lost two safeties. They lost Jesse Bates and they lost Mr. Bell. Now, I was surprised that they lost Von Bell to Carolina. I thought they would at least keep him, knowing that Jesse Bates would be expensive and knowing that they drafted Hill to replace Bates. But Nick Scott's an intriguing guy to potentially help replace Jesse Bates. He's 5'11", 200 pounds-ish, so he's a smaller safety. He is more of a free safety type. He played alongside Taylor Rapp in Los Angeles as a combination there last year. He played for the Rams his whole career, 2019 through 2022. He started all 16 games, 16 out of 17 last year for the Rams, 86 tackles, which was a career high. He also had 2 picks in last year's season with the Super Bowl champs and 2 picks in 2022. He also had an interception in 2021. I believe it might have even been on Tom Brady. I could be wrong about that, but I remember him having an interception in the playoffs and actually playing pretty well in those playoffs when the Rams won the Super Bowl that year. And he did have a really good year that year. He allowed a 61 passer rating in 2021, which was by far his best in his career. So Nick Scott's going to be a guy that's not going to cost too much. His contract, I don't think I see the terms yet, but it's going to be a multi-year deal. And he's going to add to that rotation at safety. So maybe they're looking for a lot of bodies to add to the secondary to fulfill the roles of Jesse Bates and Von Bell, understanding that 2 guys are probably not going to be enough. But Dax Hill is there, Brandon Wilson is there, Michael Thomas is there, and now you've got Nick Scott as well. So Nick Scott's a player that I think good range, feisty, small, but plays bigger than his size. Let's check his PFF grades. I know that his PFF grade wasn't kind this year, but when you look at it, you look at his best defense he's played with, which was probably the Rams last year, with some coaching from Big Lou. Could he get a little bit better? He had a lot of experience last year, so he could grow from that. He's still fairly young. I think he's about 26, 27. He's not super young, but not super old. So let's check. Let's check his grades. Let's see. He was graded as the 78th safety this year. 77 run defense grade, but a poor coverage grade. Checking, see if this lines up with the rest of his career. So he was ranked 74th last year. Had a pretty good rookie grade of 66.9. So he played last year 635 free safety snaps, 111 slot snaps, 232 box snaps. So he kind of played all over the place, but like I said, mostly free safety. So that's where I would expect him to play with the Bengals. Okay, so that's the Cincinnati Bengals. And to top it all off, we're going to talk about the Bears. But just give me a second for checking Twitter. Nothing. Okay. I'm going to check Patriots rumors too while we're at it. Okay. Trying to see Patriots rumors. Okay. Let's talk about the Bears. We did not get him yet, unfortunately. Gronk, spike the like button, guys, if you haven't. Okay. Andrew Billings. Hold on, guys. This is going to take me a sec. This is 4 players, so I'm just trying to get all their stats up. All right. The Bears are back in business. Chicago has made some moves today, once again, to upgrade their roster, mostly on offense, but also on defense, with one of the most underrated free agents available, Andrew Billings. Played last year for the Las Vegas Raiders, signs a 1-year, $3.5 million deal, fully guaranteed with 2.4 of that guaranteed. Bears get themselves an upgrade at defensive tackle once again, alongside DeMarcus Walker. Andrew Billings graded as the 16th best interior defensive lineman, and he was by far the best Raiders defensive lineman last year. In his career so far, he is 27 years old. In 2018, graded as 44th. 2019, graded 44th. 2022, 16th. So overall, pretty solid across the board. Run defense, more so his specialty than pass rushing, but he's a fairly well-rounded player. In terms of statistics, 14 games started, 1 sack, 39 tackles. Pretty similar numbers on Cincinnati. 14 starts in 2019, 35 tackles compared to 39, 1 sack. And then Cincinnati, he started again in 2018, 16 games, 32 tackles, and a career-high 2.5 sacks. So, he is mostly a good run defender that can contribute a little bit as a pass rusher. But I think that's a nice combination with DeMarcus Walker, because DeMarcus Walker is more so a pass rusher who can contribute a bit as a run defender. DeMarcus Walker is also a guy that can kind of play everywhere, edge, interior, all that. But Andrew Billings is a better player than what you had last year. Like, the Bears were trying to fill this position with Armon Watts and Justin Jones and Mike Pennell and Angelo Blackson. I mean, these guys are all borderline NFL players. Andrew Billings is more of a borderline NFL starter who's maybe been overlooked in his career, maybe deserves more shine, maybe deserves more credit. And I think this is a great signing. 1 year, $3.5 million. That's a great signing because that could fill a massive hole in an area that you really needed to upgrade with a player that's at least proven that he can perform as a run defender. So I do really like this because Chicago at times really did struggle as a run defense as a whole last year. So this could be a big contribution and a starter for the Bears for a cheap contract. Chicago also went to work offensively with a couple skill players. They signed running back. One of my favorites on the open market, man. Maybe my favorite on the open market. Not saying he was the best. But for the value, Deontay Foreman. It doesn't get much better than that human bus named Foreman, who was just clocking people like George Foreman all 22 year long. Deontay Foreman is 26 years old, and last year he had a career season, even though earlier in his career he had an Achilles tear. Yes, I said it. He had an Achilles tear in 2018. He did not play almost all of 2018, the entire 2019 season. He comes back to football in 2020. He barely plays. He only has 22 attempts. Then he's back as a fixture for Tennessee. He signs with the Titans in Tennessee. He replaces Derrick Henry when he goes down. And he has 133 carries for 566 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4.3 yards per carry, 9 catches, 123 yards. Really has a resurgence. And then last year, he builds off of that with 9 starts post Christian McCaffrey, 203 carries, 914 yards, almost 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 4.5 yards per carry, 5 receptions, 26 yards. Doesn't really catch the ball, but he's a bus. Okay? The Bears don't really need a running back as much that can catch the ball because Justin Fields scrambles a lot and he kind of just avoids throwing the ball to the running back mostly. So having a running back that's just a beast that's hard to tackle, and then you have the speed threat of Justin Fields, and Foreman's got a little speed to him as well. Like, he can break it away. I'm telling you this right now. He can do that. Still, post Achilles. And he's only 26. I think this is a steal of a signing. One of my favorite signings. 1 year, $3 million, starting running back for that cheap. That's nothing. I love it. And I also like it for Foreman because if he's great this year and rushes for 1,000 yards, he could get another better deal next year with maybe another team or with the Bears or whoever. But I think he fits in well because he complements Fields. Because if you're going to run the ball a lot, he's not the opposite of Fields, but he's a powerhouse, right? So if Fields is your speed threat to the edge, it's kind of like having Gus Edwards if you're the Ravens, right? And Lamar. It's like it's the big bus coming down the middle, and you got the speed threat across the edge, and then you also have Khalil Herbert, who's more of the shifty kind of like change of pace guy. So I like them as a combination, and I like how he fits within this scheme, and I think his efficiency will probably improve because of what scheme he's playing in. He's not playing in a scheme with, Sam Darnold as his quarterback where he's playing in the I formation or in Tennessee where it's a run-first offense where they're packing the box. He's playing in a 6-back offense where you have to be aware of the quarterback. So his yards per carry is probably going to go up. So I love this move. He's one of my favorite players in free agency. I'm shocked that other teams didn't see him the same way that I did. After that, they signed Robert Tonyan to a 1-year deal. Not sure of the money, but I don't hate it. Robert Tonyan has shown flashes of being a good tight end in this league, especially as a receiver. I think most of his hype came from the fact that he was like a good target for Aaron Rodgers and a good red zone threat, where they schemed him up a lot of opportunities to score in the red zone. I think Cole Kmet's a better player than Robert Tonyan, but I think he's a solid number 2 tight end. 6'5", 237. He is 28 years old. Last year, he had 53 catches for 470 yards. Better production than I would have thunk. But the thing is, he only caught, every catch was 8.9 on the average, right? Yards per reception. So he's lost a little bit of his explosion since he tore his ACL. Now, maybe post ACL, he has a year to kind of recover and get back to himself, and he could be more explosive next year. But he wasn't really ever an explosive guy. The thing that Tonyan was more of like a jump ball guy, and he used his frame to catch the football. He's not a great blocker either. They mostly used Mercedes Lewis as that type of guy. He's not terrible as a blocker, but he wasn't their go-to guy in that department. 2020 was his breakout year with 52 catches for 586 yards and 11 touchdowns. He had a catch percentage of 88, which is almost improbable and impossible to repeat. This year it was 79.1, but again, a lot shorter yards per reception. That season it was 11.3. This year it was 8.9. So I think he's a solid number 2 tight end who knows the system, right? Luke Getsy knows him, right? So it makes sense that they bring him in because they're familiar with the player and he knows the system. So he's going to be able to push Cole Kmet, and he's going to be able to give them someone to put into 2 tight end, 3 tight end formations. So I don't hate the signing. I just don't think it might have more hype for Bears fans than it should, because he's not an amazing player. He's a fine player. He's a good role player. And then lastly, they signed PJ Walker. PJ Walker is an NFL backup quarterback, but he has a great story. He's a great character guy in the locker room, and he'll be great for Justin Fields. He'll be great for Justin Fields. He's had a lot of experience. He played in the XFL. He came from nothing, right? He's got a lot of work ethic. 5'11", 210. He's small, but I thought he played okay last year in his moments. He was 2 for 2 and 3. I thought he played better than Baker Mayfield did in that offense for Carolina. I'll say that much. He had 731 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 78 passer rating. In his first 2 years, nothing great. I mean, he's a low end. I don't know. He's a guy that like could start a game in a pinch, but he's a backup. That's what he is. He's not a guy that I would even say is a bridge quarterback quality. He's a backup. But he's a great character, great story, and a great guy to have in the locker room. So PJ Walker to the Bears, Tanyan, Foreman, and Billings. I love these signings for the most part. I think the Billings and the Foreman ones are home runs, great values. I think the Tanyan one is okay. I think the PJ Walker one is what it is. But yeah, let me know, Bears fans, what you guys think. I think you guys have had a really nice offseason. Now, I will say, I think they need to continue to hit the offensive line and defensive line. I need to continue to see that. But at this point, this season for you guys, you're going to have enough talent to compete in this division. And it's going to come down to your coaching, and it's going to come down to your quarterback play. And ultimately, Justin Fields is going to have to prove it this year. So that's what it comes down to for me. Bears are getting closer in terms of their talent. I don't think they're as talented as the Lions or the Packers. They're probably along the same lines as the Vikings, but the Vikings have the better quarterback, the better playmakers, right? Or the better playmaker with Justin Fields, better offense, better play calling. So they proved it last year, and they brought in Brian Flores. But the Bears could make a splash this year if these pieces come together right. They have enough talent now. It's not like last year where they had no talent. This year they've got talent. So it's up to the coaching to mesh it and mold it, and it's up to Fields to take it. So, yeah, that's pretty much Thursday, March 16th, free agency, guys. My reactions, my thoughts on every single move today. Appreciate everybody being here. You guys are awesome. Yeah, nothing else to say, man. I mean, I wish the Patriots made a move today. I do. Fortunately, they didn't. I think more will come. They hosted a bunch of people. So that's good. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. It's Mitch. Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe. We will be back again probably tomorrow, depending on what happens. And continue to watch all the videos I put out. And they're coming. And you might not get the notification, so make sure you're checking the channel, all right? Make sure you're checking my Twitter. Follow my Twitter. You'll get all of my tweets. I put out all my videos on Twitter. So make sure to get those. All right. See you guys soon. Peace.